Hi guys, thank you for clicking on this video. Today we will be discussing while loops. It's basically the same principle as the for loops, but it has slightly different use cases. So before we start, I've put down some exercises in the link below. Please try to work on these exercises since this will help you learning this code. And let's go over to our desktop. So once we are at a Jupyter Notebook environment, we want to start with creating a while loop. So there are slight differences between a while loop and a for loop. In the last video I've covered how a for loop works, how we can loop over a list, and what are the use cases of a for loop. In this video I will give a small explanation about what a while loop is, how it differs from a for loop, and also I will give you some hands-on exercises. So the first thing that we want to do while creating a while loop is we want to create a variable. So I'm going to say x equals 0. And let me define a while loop. So we're going to say, well, x is smaller than 10. We print out x. And what we're going to do is we're going to say x equals x plus 1. And let's run this code. So we can see it's going to print out 0 up until 9. So why is this happening? So let's go over it line by line and see what is actually going on. So the first thing is we define x as 0. So over here, x is 0 at this point of time. So we are going to check, is x smaller than 10? So this is what is called a Boolean statement. I also referred to it in one of my previous videos. So what's going on here is it's going to give a true or false. So is 0 smaller than 10? That's true. So it will execute this block of code. So it will print out x, which is 0. It will give x is x plus 1. So it will now print out 1. And it goes over the code again, over and over again. So that's really interesting, especially when it comes to 9. So what's happening when it comes to 9? It's going to say, well, 9 is smaller than 10. Print 9. 9 is 9 plus 1. Now x will be 10. So is 10 smaller than 10? No, it's equal to 10. So this statement will be false, so it will not execute this block of code. So we can make sure that it's still continuing our code. So if this is false, so after the 9 it will be false and it will just regularly continue on with executing our code, which we want to. So one more thing which I see a lot of beginners, a mistake I see a lot of beginners make. They forgot this line of code. So they forget the x equals x plus 1. So what will happen now is we will actually start to get into an infinite loop. And why is that? So we have x equals 0. So while 0 is smaller than 10, we print out the 0. But we never give it an increment, so this will stay 0 forever. So this statement will be true forever and ever. So let's run this code. And we can see that it will break our code. So we will get 0 up until infinity, and most likely this will break our code. And we don't want this to happen. So never forget to put x equals x plus 1. And by the way, if you resolve in this code error, you don't get an error message, but you will get an infinite loop. So this will continue forever and it will break your whole code. To fix this, I click on kernel. I click restart. So I want to restart my kernel. So this is in Dutch. I'm sorry, guys. It says, do you want to quit your kernel? Yes, I want to restart my kernel. So I'm going to click restart. And let's try that again, because I didn't pick up. Okay, so now it restarted my kernel. When we run the code, it works fine again. So this is what we want. What we also can do, instead of just saying 1, we can also print out odd numbers by saying x equals x plus 2, plus 3. It doesn't matter, we can change the code up a little bit. And in the last video, I also talked a lot about lists and what lists are. So let's define a list. Let's give it some random values. So in the last video, I explained how you can iterate over a list using a for loop. You can use the same principle with using a while loop, but it works slightly different. So with a for loop, we would say for I in new list, print I. We could give I whatever name we want, but for now I choose I since it's not a lot of typing. And we can see it prints out all these numbers. And in the last video, I also explained something about indexing. So we have index 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we can reference that by, for example, say we want to grab the second item from new list. So we want to say print new list. At index 1, we see it's 5. We want to grab the third element. It's 6. So we can also use this in a while loop. So now we get to the practical aspect of this indexing. So let's define a new x, just like we did over here. And we create a new while loop. So we say while x is smaller than the len of new list. So what the len is doing, it's a function built in Python. It's going to calculate how many items there are in this list. So for now, this will be 4. So it's going to check while x is smaller than 4. And now it will execute the code. And now we want to reference our list based on the index it has. So x will now reference to our index. Let's run this. And don't forget to add this x plus equals 1, or we can say x equals x plus 1. This is a shorter way of writing it, because otherwise it will result into an infinite loop. And this is how we can iterate over a list. There are also in the link in the description a GitHub link where you can also have some practical exercises. I have an installation video, the first or the second video on this course, how to install Python and how to start with data types and variables. In both of those videos, I will describe how you can download the exercises. I would highly recommend you doing it because this will only enhance your learning process. And I think the best way to learn is by doing the practical exercises. In there, we will also go over the while loops. We will get also nested while loops, and those are while loops inside of while loops. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you also are going to make the practical exercises. If you like these videos or have any questions about anything, put it in the comments. And I hope to see you guys in the next video.